Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Sony hates Ukraine. That's right. PlayStation is betraying the Ukrainian players. They cannot sign up to play Helldivers without a PlayStation 4 at least. Man, it is ridiculous. You know, corporate greed sometimes blinds people to the reality of life. And this is coming from a person who loves business. I love capitalism, right? And sometimes a lot of decisions are short-sighted because they're not run through every department. And you'll see this in a lot of larger companies with layers of bureaucracy, right? Where they don't talk to each other, especially when it comes to PR and making money, making decisions. Now, this whole thing could have been avoided if they just waited for the game to be ready and for Steam, for example, and just have everybody sign up from the very beginning. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. To their credit, they did tell people, hey, you're going to have to sign up later. But they did a very poor job of communicating that message. They really did. And it's always a terrible thing when your customers aren't happy with your service, right? Obviously, this is a PR nightmare because now the game's been delisted for, I think, about almost 200 countries because some countries don't, want that method of signing up, or some governments don't allow it. Whatever the case may be, it's not available to everybody like it was before, which is what made the game so popular. Most of the times that I'm playing online, most of the players that I'm playing with are playing on PC, and they're playing from other countries. And it might be a requirement that they can't fulfill. It's not a crime to be poor. It's not a crime to not be able to afford, a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 4. Some of these countries have exorbitant taxes on these consoles. So most people play on their laptops because they can only afford one thing, right? They can only afford a laptop or a computer at home, what have you. So it has to do with economics. Now, the sign up may be free, but the reason they want to sign people up because they want to sell them things in the future. And that's what other companies have done. However, they start from the very beginning doing that, right? So you have the choice of not playing the game. But once you pay for the game and then you switch up on them without communicating it properly, then that's when there's a problem. And let me tell you guys, we need to have regulation in the video game industry because this kind of crap happens all the time. Things that happen in the video game industry do not happen in other realms, right? You can buy a video game today and they could change it tomorrow. They can change it tomorrow. You can have a different game tomorrow because they decided to take something out or to put something in, to change the character because it was offensive to somebody. You don't have that in real life. You buy a product, it could be recalled. You have the option to return it or exchange it if you want, but you're not obligated to. When it comes to video games and software, they have all the power. You as a consumer hold very little because, as you know, if you've been listening to the show, all you own is a license. That's all you own. It might seem like a disc, it might seem like a physical product, but if you have to sign up to the internet in order to play your game, or you have to do a secondary step, you own nothing. They have all the control. They have all the power. And until the laws are changed, that's just the way it's going to be. It's a very anti-consumer environment in that manner, right? There's other things that are consumer friendly, but in this particular case, when it comes to the actual product, as a customer, as a person who actually pays money for a product, you have very little to no rights. As a matter of fact, buying the products, as I told you before, makes more money for the company. So you're already giving them more money, and by them having your information, which they force you to give to them in order just to play, then they turn around and sell that information to make even more profit. So you're just a product to them. And when it comes to this situation right here, it is a PR nightmare that should have been fixed from the very get-go, right? Because I'm talking about specifically players in Ukraine, for example. If you play Helldivers in Ukraine, I mean, it's not enough that you have a war going on, right? You have bombs dropping all over the place. And now, on top of that, if you don't have a console, if you don't have the resources in the middle of a war to go buy a PlayStation console, you cannot play this game. This is something that needs to be rectified yesterday if you're a company like Sony, right? This is one big issue, at least in American media, where, all the press is on one side. You're not going to find a lot of sympathizers for Sony on this one when they're doing this to Ukrainian players. And if they only make an exception for Ukrainian players, for example, how are you going to make an exception only for them and not for the people in Africa? Right? It becomes another whole can of worms. There is no easy solution to this. Whenever you make a mistake in business of this kind, you got to pay for your sins. Now, you could be a company like Sony and say, well, we're just going to do what we're going to do, and that's it, which is usually what they do, by the way, because they know there's some people out there that no matter what, no matter where, they're going to support the brand in any way they can. Now, let me just say this. This has really nothing to do with the makers of the game, ROH Studios. In this case, they're actually out there advocating for the customer, for all these people that can't, get accounts. They're even encouraging them to get refunds, right? Because they can't play their game fairly, right? But you have to remember, they made the game, but they're not the publisher. Sony is the publisher. So they have all the control, right? They really do, because they fork the money for the development of this game. That's the problem with the corporate structure, right? Even if you create a game and you take money from corporations in order to make your game, they can force you, right? They can force you to accept all these clauses, including the Sweet Baby Ink deals and all that other stuff that you guys hate as consumers, right? The switch and bait, all the other problems that comes with that. But this right here, guys, is just corporate myopia, not seeing what's right in front of them. Having a situation where they think we're always going to tell the customers what to do. We're in the superior position here. Since we know they're going to come back and play these games anyway. Yeah, they're going to fest for a little bit. Might be unhappy for a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're still going to come back and play. So we don't care. I hope this is not the case in this situation. But Sony isn't reacting the way you would if you were going to change it. Let me just say that. But you have to make your voices known. And better yet, go out and vote. I don't tell you to go out and vote just like everybody else does. Go out and vote for the people that are going to make changes to the laws that you want in order to change the video game industry fundamentally. And you need to talk to your lawmakers and tell them what your concerns are. It's just basic civic duty. And it will make the video game industry work for you. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.